Hey, this is the On the Mic podcast. My name's Nugget, and I am so excited for my interview with Jacob Lee.
On the Mic podcast.
Hi guys, I'm here with Nugget from Q102, and yeah, do you introduce yourself?
Sure. That's the name I go by is Nugget. My real name's Sam, and I am doing nights in Philly right now at Q102.
That's awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on the podcast, and I'm excited for everyone to listen and watch the interview when it comes out.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited, man. Thank you for having me.
Welcome. Anytime. Let's jump into some awesome questions with the first one. When you were a kid, did you even imagine you would be in radio?
No. I thought I was going to do TV stuff, and I went to a school where for a semester you learned radio, for a semester you learned TV, and then you get to choose which one you wanted to concentrate on. And I just noticed that when I was learning each of them, all the people that wanted to do TV seemed really stressed out, and all the people doing radio were just like smoking weed and having fun, and I was like, I'm going to do that. So I went for radio instead of TV, but I thought I was going to try to do TV at first.
That's cool. It's awesome that you're in radio today, and yeah.
Yeah.
And funny like how some things like don't work out and like that we're not like thinking and like and that there's like always like a reason to something. So
yeah,
that's
and it
awesome.
always ends up kind of working out for the best. Yeah.
And then how did you get into the radio industry?
I started as an intern. I was interning for Mojo in the Morning in Detroit on Channel 955, WKQI. And I started out with him. Then I moved to the night show with Big Boy at the time. Now he goes by Evan Paul, and he's on Taste of Country Nights. But I interned for him, too. And then I got on the promotions team, set up the tents, did all that. My first full-time job was Fort Wayne, Indiana. I sent out a bunch of air checks, and eventually they let me on Friday nights at KQI. So I got to make a real air check from that, and then I sent it out everywhere. And Fort Wayne, Indiana finally hired me for nights at WJFX. I think it's Hot 107.9. I think it's still around.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're a host, you're doing the night show on Q102, so that's awesome as well.
Yeah, no complaints at all. It's a lot of fun over here.
That's good. And then what's your favorite thing about getting to work for iHeartMedia?
You just get a lot of resources. They have done a great job. They have it available now to where you can leave voice notes on their app, on the iHeartRadio app, and that's kind of cool because people actually are doing it. They'll send us voice notes, and we'll get them in the studio and be able to play them back on the air. Or it's just nice to get feedback from people randomly using that. So that's what's nice about working for iHeart. There's also a lot of opportunity in this company. They've got me voice tracking a bunch of stations all over the country, which feels really cool to be on the air I'm on the air on weekends in San Antonio, which is somewhere that I used to do mornings. So it's kind of cool.
Wow.
Once in a while, I'll get an Instagram message of somebody that's like, no way, I just heard you. So stuff like that is really cool.
That's awesome. Nice, like when the listeners like listen to the station and all that, and when they like leave like song requests and all of that, that's always like nice to hear, and that's always like nice to know like that you're doing like a good job with all of that. And yeah,
it's definitely rewarding. It's nice getting feedback because, it's like when you're in some of these smaller markets, or just some markets where they're not as involved in radio, it sucks not getting the interaction that you feel like you should be getting. So it's cool to be in a city like this where I definitely am.
That's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
Then what's your favorite thing about getting to be on the station Q102? What's your favorite thing about that?
I like it because it's just a great staff. We got, we're in Philadelphia. It's super close to New York City where Elvis ran.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to have Elvis Duran starting us off in the morning because a lot of people grew up listening to him here. And then we've got Rach, who does middays. She's perfect.
Yeah.
Everything she does during her show is like, it just fits so well with our demographic. And then Bex and Buster do afternoons, and they've got this whole thing going where they're doing a content-driven afternoon show, and it's working really well. And I hope that it is more content-driven shows are the future of radio. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's good. Like that. Then, what's your favorite thing about getting to work with your coworkers? What do you love about that?
They're just very funny. It's really hard to... I don't laugh that easy, or at least I didn't think I laughed very easily. I wish I did. I wish that's something I would change about myself. I wish that I had a better sense of humor, where I was one of those people that just laughed at everything, but I don't. But hanging out with the people that work here does make me laugh in a way that I haven't... Like, I just don't don't enjoy anybody else's sense of humor the same way I enjoy Beck's and Buster's and Rach's and everybody. So yeah, I really just get a kick out of working with these guys.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And then what do you like about getting to be on the radio? What do you love about that?
Well, I mean, I think that almost all of us are doing it for that one-on-one connection with people. When you go on the air and you feel like you're really connecting with somebody in their car, like in this very personal moment. That's what I love. I love that my show is kind of like a trashy reality TV show. I just get the best callers ever from Philly and New Jersey. Oh, you can't ask for better callers than New Jersey callers. And they call in and they do the work for me. They're just, they're so funny. They're so entertaining on their own. And all I really have to do, it's so funny. I was talking to Buster the other day and he was saying, you know, they call in and all I really have to do is repeat what they just said back to them. And it sounds like I'm doing the content. I'm really not doing anything at all. But they'll call. I mean, what happened? The other night, somebody said they had to break off their engagement because
Oh my gosh.
their fiance cheated on them with their mom.
Wow.
And so all I did was I just go, so he cheated on you with your mom. Very Maury, very Jerry Springer. And that's my part. And then they just tell the story and they're really, you know, the star of the whole thing. So that's what I love about it here.
That's awesome. It's crazy that happened.
That is a normal Tuesday for me.
Wow, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's good that you love doing your job and all that, and that it's fun for you, that you enjoy getting to talk to the listeners. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And then, do you recommend going to college? Do you think that's important to be in radio, to be as a DJ?
No, I recommend not going to college. What a waste of your time and money for radio. That is just... I'm sorry. Are you going to college for this?
No.
Okay,
I'm
good.
not.
That would have made me feel terrible. But yeah, it's not, I mean, from my experience, if I did go to college and I went part-time for years and I paid it off while I was with full-time radio jobs. I remember I was going to school and some of my teachers, some of my professors would be like, hey, like, can you put in a good word? I applied to work at your radio station. And I'm like, you're supposed to be teaching me. And you're asking me for a recommendation. Something feels wrong here. And that to me has told me everything I needed to know. And I just think if you can go to college without going into debt for it, cool. But if you're going to go into debt, I don't know if it's worth it as far as what we do. I think you're better off using that time and money to invest in yourself. You can learn everything that you need to learn from just kind of interning or being in the studio, job shadowing. You can learn what you need to learn from other people without necessarily having to pay for it, I don't think.
And starting like a internet station on like the internet as well, like that's easy today and all that, and it's like a few bucks and all that, and yeah, so that's like also like the nice thing that there's like that opportunity to do that and to get your voice heard from people who are like listening like on the web and on like their phone as well, like on certain apps, so that's nice.
It's definitely true. Everybody can just start their own thing, so you could learn that way, learn through your own product.
Yeah, that's good, like that. And then do you think interning do you recommend it, like, to get into radio, or do you think that's maybe important?
Yeah, I mean, that might be, I don't know any other way to do it, which is unfortunate because it'd be nice if there were more avenues, but that's the only way I know how to get into it because that's how I got into it. I'm sure that there are other ways, but everybody that I know got into it one way or another by being in the studio in some capacity, whether that was as an intern or maybe like a guest co-host or something like that. They've all gotten into it through some sort of just being in the building,
Yeah.
I would recommend, instead of interning, I would say right now the way to do it is to try to get on the promotions team, which is an entry-level job. You can actually get paid. And then that way you're not just donating your time, you're getting a little bit of money. And you can also get into the studio whenever you feel like it.
And do you think board op is good too? Like doing the board? Do you think that's also another good opportunity to do?
Yeah, because it's a lot less intimidating to try to go on the air when you already know the board. If you know the board really well, it's easier to go on the air live. When you don't know the board that well, let's see, I'm trying to think. I didn't know the board that well when I first started trying to go on the air. And so it was a lot of like voice tracking and pre-recording. And then once you learn the board, you can go on live, which is really important to be able to do.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Then what job do you recommend for any of those who want to get into radio? What job do you recommend to get into first and then to like get in?
I would say
to
the
be a DJ?
promotions team. I would say if you can get on the street team, that is awesome because it gives you're meeting a bunch of people, you're doing events, you're learning what you would need to do at events if you were one of the jocks or one of the talent. So it gives you that part. Or board hopping. I don't know. It's hard. I started out on the promo team. So for me, so I think I'm a little bit biased toward that. But board hopping is just as good. Just get in the building, really, is the best thing you can do.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Like that.
Yeah.
And then what's your favorite thing about getting to talk to the listeners and getting to connect with them? What do you love about that?
Ooh, I would just say their stories. Like, I could just sit here and listen to our listener stories all day. Like the engagement thing that I was telling you about. I mean, that's every single night we get something like that. And so that's my favorite thing about it is it's like, it's so funny because it's like we're supposed to be entertaining them and here they are entertaining me. But I think that's my favorite thing is just hearing their stories and hearing all the different experiences that they call up with.
That's good. Like that. Do you think it is important to post content on social media as a DJ?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely can't hurt. So I think that's my official stance on that is it can't hurt. So you might as well just do it. It's, I think that different, I don't know, man, that can get complicated. That can get into a really complicated conversation. But I think that our main job is what goes on the air.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people forget how many people you reach with the radio station, and it's easy to prioritize social media when it doesn't need to be prioritized sometimes. Like I've seen people put more into their social media than their radio show, and I think that is maybe miscalculation of priorities depending on what you're doing. So yeah, I think it's super important. I think that depending on what your goals are as a station and as an individual, it's probably not as important as what's going on over the air. But it is important. So yeah.
Yeah, like that. And then do you think connection is important for today?
Connection? Like in general? Yeah. That's all we're in 2022. That's the game that we're all playing, right? Is just how many connections we can make that are as real as possible. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Then do you think it's also good to connect with other DJs too? Do you think that's important as well? Can talk to other like DJs like from other stations or
Yeah, and it's fun. It's fun because not a lot of people do what we do anymore. So it's always nice talking to the people that are doing it and that believe in what we're doing and want to and are finding new ways to do it that are bringing more people to the medium. I think that radio's having an interesting problem right now where it's like, my analogy is like Game of Thrones where everybody is fighting over the crown, but meanwhile we've got like this way bigger threat, which is Spotify and TikTok and all these other sources people can go to for entertainment. We're all fighting amongst each other. We really need to be banding together against all these bigger threats to our entire industry rather than trying to figure out who has the #1 hit music station in the city. And so yeah, I mean, I definitely like working with and talking to other radio people.
That's good. Like that, like what you said, like it's important to come together and instead of like worrying about like who's like the #1 station in all the cities and all that.
It's so funny. It's so funny having everybody, ratings are important and you want to do the best you can as far as ratings go, but the problem is less and less people every year. There's just more and more competition that is outside of radio, and I think that is competition that we need to take a little bit more seriously and make it a little bit more important than fighting amongst ourselves and trying to beat the other top 40 station. If anything, we need to be figuring out how to work with all the other stations to make people come to us aside from any other platform.
Yeah, like that. That's good.
Yeah.
Then a little fun question. What's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Oh man. It used to be mint chocolate chip, but now I have a really specific one, and it's so most banana flavored ice cream is gross. It tastes like banana flavoring. It tastes like Laffy Taffy banana flavored stuff, like, which is disgusting to me. It tastes like cough syrup. But Cold Stone has a banana flavored ice cream that tastes like bananas, and I mix it in with almonds, and it's the best thing in the world. That's my favorite.
Awesome. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Speaking of Cold Stone, my favorite flavor from there is cake batter. I just love the cake batter. It's a
classic. You can't beat cake batter. Yeah. Oh, that's making me hungry. I'm gonna have to go soon because I'm gonna have to eat.
Yeah, that's good. And what do you think radio will be like in 5 to 10 years?
I don't know, man. The way things are going, I don't know. I think that the smart thing to do if you're a radio station now, and some companies have already been doing it, is to figure out what that second main source of income is going to be. Like for iHeart, we have a lot invested into our app. That's going really well. Whenever people think about listening to a radio station through an app, the first app they think of is the iHeartRadio app. That's, I mean, it's kicking everybody else's ass. I like what Town Square has done, where their jocks are writing news articles and are trained in search engine optimization, and their source of income now, I think I remember them saying, even more than commercial advertising, they get so many views on their articles and on their website that they have been able to really monetize that successfully. So something like that. I've always thought a radio station would make a great event planning company that happens to have advertising and a radio station attached to it. So like if you're a radio station and you just throw events and parties nonstop, and you do it so well and so successfully that everybody knows your station. Let's say it's a Hot 107.9 party. Everybody knows that party is going to be awesome, and so they come to it. And then you get 100% of the money from that because you're the one throwing the event. I think that would be something to investigate, try out. I wish a radio station would try that out, and I think some have been doing that. But I think that's where radio goes. I think it has to be something else that happens to have a radio station. Yeah, I don't know what the right answer is, but it's definitely got to have. We've got to do something.
Like maybe like showing the listeners like in the studio a little bit. Like
I do that. I try to have guests in. Yeah, yeah. And we're throwing a back to school party. It's going to be a Q102 back to school party at one of the nightclubs here, one of the bars I guess here, and we're going to do a flyaway to Vegas to see the Chainsmokers. So I think that's going to go really well, and that is just a huge step for any radio station, is to be able to throw a party and have everybody go, oh, that's the radio station. Oh, that's Q102. Oh, it's going to be good. There's a power behind that you can definitely monetize.
That's good. Like that. Then who would you want to give a shout out to? Anyone like who's in radio? It can be anyone.
Oh man, this is gonna get me in trouble because there's so many people that I gotta name. I almost have to go through my phone. The biggest people who kind of gave me a chance early on. Let me do this. Let me try to do it chronologically. Dom Theodore. Well, Mojo in the morning. Let me intern for him first. Then Rebecca Falk. Let me do promotions for her in Detroit. Dom Theodore eventually let me on the air. Bo Daniels is the man. Let's see. So that's Detroit. And then Evan Paul, aka Chunky, aka Big Boy, aka whatever his name is. Him, and then Buster, who I worked with in Detroit, and then he hired me here at Q102 in Philly. Phil Becker gave me my first full-time job in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and my first morning show job in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I owe him a ton. I owe him a lot. Phil Becker's the man. He's I can't keep up with his titles, but he is like one of the big guys at Alpha Media. But he's constantly getting promoted and stuff. So yeah, I mean, Grooves, he does a syndicated mix show. In the mix with Grooves, he gave me a lot of chances. He put me on the air a lot and put me in touch with a lot of people that I wouldn't have been able to do a lot of stuff without him. Yeah, there's a lot of people, man. There's a lot. Yeah. There's too many people to name, but those are the beginning of my career, at least. I can give a lot of props to them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I got to give a shout out to everybody that I worked for in Dubai, too. I worked in Dubai for about 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And so big shout out to Digby Taylor and Helen Sweetland for hiring me out there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing that you got to work out in Dubai. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like market -1. It's like it's not even on the map. So yeah, it was very interesting out there.
That's good. like that. And then where can everyone follow you and listen to you?
Sure. The iHeartRadio app, the iHeartMedia app on Q102 every night, 7 to midnight Eastern Standard Time. And then I have a podcast that's called the Get Your Life Together Podcast. You can go to getyourlifetogetherpodcast.com or just search for it on YouTube or Spotify, iTunes. It's on everything. So I think those two are the easiest things to find me on.
That's good. And then before we end the recording and all that, could you let everyone know to subscribe and leave a review for the podcast?
Yes. Please subscribe and leave a review for the On the Mic podcast. Jacob Lee is the man, and he deserves every positive review that we can get him. So please do that and subscribe to him.
Thanks. Yay.
No problem.
Awesome.
Let me go subscribe right now.
Yay. Awesome.
Cool.